What's going on, football fans? Good evening, and welcome to another exciting edition of Thursday Night Gridiron. After a well-deserved 2-week break, we are back again. We are back. Tell a friend. And I am joined by my wonderful panelists. We got Mr. Alex Snay.
What's up?
And from SIN's The Throwdown, Connor Douglas.
Howdy.
And Alex Matai.
What's up?
Gentlemen, good evening. How are you guys?
Pretty good, man. Yesterday was my birthday, so
Happy belated birthday, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Watched the Wizards play yesterday. Saw the game winner. So that was cool seeing live.
That must have been great.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go any further, it's our first show of the year. So, gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, all right. So for the first time ever, we're gonna have Week 18 of the NFL.
Wow.
How's that?
Woo-hoo. Pretty
Week
good.
18. Who's in for that?
I mean, in a way, it seems kind of anticlimactic a little bit because I feel like we expected having an extra week to make the playoff scenarios even more crazy than we've ever seen it. But honestly, I don't know. I feel like we have a lot of teams already locked up and a lot of teams already out of the race. So I feel like that excitement is a little bit lower than what I anticipated coming into the season.
Wow, Connor, way to be a Debbie Downer.
I don't know about you guys, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, what do you guys think before we dive in? Alex, M?
What about having the new week? I mean,
yeah.
It's I'm all for football, but at the same time, I'm all for more football, but at the same time, when you really look at it, you know how many guys could possibly play this week and get hurt and miss out, in terms of playoffs and being a threat. It could prove to be very negative for other teams if they lose key pieces. That's why Bengals aren't going to have Joe Burrow playing. So, some teams might not be that smart.
Absolutely. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about mainly the AFC games and the AFC playoff picture. There is one NFC game that we will be talking about, and I think you guys know what it's going to be. But we'll get to that in a second. But first, we want to look at first. I'm going to say who has clinched already, and here's what we got. Number one, we have the Tennessee Titans at 11-5. They have clinched the AFC South. Coming in at number two, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who have clinched the AFC West at 11-5. Coming in at number three, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 10-6, who have clinched the AFC North. Coming in at number four is the Buffalo Bills, who have clinched a playoff spot, yet to clinch the division at 10-6 to clinch the AFC East. The New England Patriots coming in with the fifth seed at 10-6. And the last two coming in at number 6, we have the Indianapolis Colts at 9-7. And at number 7, we have the Los Angeles Chargers coming in also at 9-7. And on the bubble, we have the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, we're going to get into all the fun. We're going to get into all the fun with the scenarios in a second as we move forward. But, yeah, that's the playoff picture. Guys, any shock? We expected that to happen? Thoughts?
Well, the Patriots, no one saw them making the playoffs this year. Everyone thought it was a rebuilding year. Mac Jones has looked good. So, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things with the Patriots was that they had their defensive players come back. Last year, a lot of them took the season off because of COVID. And with the addition of having Matthew Judon, who's been playing phenomenal this year. And then you have J.C. Jackson, who's been one of the most underrated cornerbacks for many years and now has kind of been brought more to light. I totally agree. That's a great pick. One that surprises me is actually somebody that's outside the bubble, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. They were the number 1 seed a couple weeks ago, and then they decided to lose, 5 in a row?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and I actually saw them play this past week against the Rams in person. That was a fun game to watch as well. But, man, that team has to look at themselves and decide, what they want to do. Because, I mean, you could maybe make the excuse Lamar's been out for a couple games. But even before that, the team was looking shaky. And I know they got injuries, but we got to look at that coaching situation. Harbaugh's cost that team a lot of games, and that might be a question for a later point.
And of course, we'll dive into that stuff a little later when we get to the Ravens-Steelers game. So I think the only appropriate way to start is that the NFL has flexed 2 games this week, and they will both be played on Saturday. And to be honest, these games kind of really don't mean anything. What do you guys think?
Well, I think for Chiefs Broncos means a lot for the Titans.
That's the game that really means something because
that's the one that means something.
Number 1.
Granted, people are going to look at it. I know people will look at this upcoming weekend as like, oh, Titans easily clinch. But then again, Titans did lose to the Texans a few weeks ago. It's not like it's totally out. So Chiefs have a strong chance to win this game. I mean, they beat Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, 22-9 last time they played. Their defense shut down the offense, which isn't hard because that offense really is just about the rushing game and has a terrible quarterback situation with injuries, unfortunately for Teddy Bridgewater, rip. But when you really look at it, the only exciting game to watch is Chiefs Broncos. Like Cowboys-Eagles would have been probably more exciting, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cowboys just start resting certain people, and then Eagles are kind of not really looking at this game strong. Guess
what game we're going to talk about first? We're talking about Chiefs Broncos because that game is on first. And I think it's only fair that we talk about the game that's on first. Am I right?
I guess that's fair.
We'll make this quick. Okay, so Chiefs Broncos. Alex M. You just basically gave us the deep dive. The Chiefs defense has been hot.
They have been.
Denver's quarterback situation is non-existent. Because Teddy Bridgewater kind of sucks.
Well, he's a gap bridge quarterback. He's nothing. He's not a franchise quarterback. And yeah.
I mean, we got to give him some credit, and also the last couple games we've had to endure Drew Lock playing. But yeah, I just feel like, the more importance to this game, besides the number 1 seed and the Chiefs, needing to win to, get that, is Vic Fangio. If he wins this, pulls up the upset, I think that gives him 1 more year potentially. It hasn't been a perfect run of the Denver Broncos as head coach, but I think this game could save his career as a head coach.
But you gotta say, with that AFC West though, it was like super tight a couple weeks ago, and then the floodgates open. So I think this is going to be a really tight game. I think not really tight, actually. I think the Chiefs are actually going to just run this game out of town. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. Broncos haven't beaten the Chiefs since 2015 when they won Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning. So I expect that streak to continue.
That's crazy to think about.
Peyton was barely playing that year, so it was probably Brock Osweiler actually.
Oh, God. Alex, my friend, please don't remind me of that Super Bowl.
Because I was happy the Panthers lost because I was pissed over that Josh Norman, Odell Beckham thing. So I actually enjoyed seeing the Broncos win. Plus, I like Peyton Manning.
No, because I remember with that game with Peyton Manning, I was watching with my friend and a couple of his roommates. And I remember when the Broncos won, we're like, congratulations, Peyton Manning. Now never play an NFL game again.
Well, that's what happens when
Peyton Manning, if you're watching, and I know you are, no offense. You're pretty cool.
That's what happens when you play only 9 games that year and throw 17 picks.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, if you were to, because, okay, Connor, why do you say if the Broncos win, this could be a career saver for Vic Fangio?
I mean, first off, Alex brought up a good point. They haven't beaten them since 2015. That's a huge win. Also, Pat Mahomes, back-to-back Super Bowl berth teams. They've dominated the league over the last couple of years now. So I think it's, by winning a big pivotal divisional game, I think this would play a huge factor in him saving his job, Vic Fangio, because he's had a pretty subpar, coaching campaign. And I think they kind of want to move on and start over, new quarterback, new head coach, and do it all over again.
Yeah, because if you look at the Broncos, there's going to be a lot of, questions after this week. Is Vic Fangio going to be back? Is Vic Fangio going to be back?
Also, they were 3-0 to start the season too, and then they.
But who did they beat the first 3 games?
Yeah, they beat all
Giants, the Titans, yeah, especially my beloved New York Giants, or me and Alex M and Alex S's beloved New York Giants. Connor's sitting there laughing. You beat the Giants, the Jets, and the Jags. What do you want, a cookie? Yeah, but that everybody goes, the Broncos started off 3-0. They played 3 below mediocre teams, guys. Don't give them a Medal of Honor. But anyway.
Kind of like the Panthers.
Yeah, and just one final point before I forget, too. Also, it kind of shows where the team wants to move their direction. They're moving away from Von, for example, a couple of weeks ago, they traded away Von Miller. They want to move on, and they want to try to move on from that championship team and realize, this ain't the same team, and this failed run after the championship needs to move on. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm going to start with Alex M on this next question before we move on to predictions for this one. Can you see the Broncos possibly trading for Russell Wilson? Because I think that was one of the 3 teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, unfortunately.
I think that's one of the 3 teams. I know Aaron was the biggest one, though, heading in the offseason last year for the Broncos, but where he wanted.
Yeah, because there was talk like on the NFL draft. I'm thinking the Denver Broncos got Aaron Rodgers, but they have to trade their draft picks for the next 52 years. Can you see? Because Russell Wilson, Denver said was one of the big 3 teams he was thinking about if he leaves Seattle.
If he
you think he's coming to do you think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be quarterback of the Denver Broncos next year?
I don't think Teddy will be the quarterback next year, but I also don't think that Russell Wilson's coming in, because even if that's one of your top 3 teams that he wants to go to, why would you really want to go there? Because here's the thing. I like Denver's rushing game. I think we can all agree on that. You have 2 running backs with 800+ yards. That's impressive considering. But your weapons, I mean, I would rather stick with Lockett and Metcalf over Judy and Sutton. What's the point of downgrading a little bit? Fan as a tight end is great and all, but offensive line needs work still. That defense, the thing is, Russ would be going from a team that has defensive troubles to another team that also has its own defensive troubles too. So you really would downgrade if you actually chose to go that route. So I feel like, would it make sense to also, when you really look at that division, he'd be going from the NFC West, which was a tough division for the Seahawks this year, to the AFC West, where you have Raiders, you have not only Broncos, but you have Raiders, Chiefs, and Chargers. That's way too tough competition. I would try to go to a weaker division as well.
Okay. Alex S.
Are we talking about Denver or Russell Wilson? I kind of forgot.
We'll talk about both. Do you think do you think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos next year?
I mean, unless they somehow get a good one free agency or draft one, I kind of doubt it. Like I don't see like how many options they have. Like I said before, I think he's just kind of a stop bridge quarterback. He's not your franchise guy, but he'll be there for a year or two until you figure it out. But yeah, this upcoming year, unless they find a good QB to replace him, I think that they got to stick with him.
Connor, my friend.
Yeah. I think they're going to move on from Teddy Bridgewater. And about the Russell Wilson point, one of the things is DK and Tyler both have been able to stay healthy for a lot of their run together as a tandem. And that's the problem that we see happening a lot with Denver. Sutton can't stay healthy. Judy can't stay healthy. Tim Patrick's inconsistent. And maybe that comes with the quarterback play, obviously injuries, not really, but, like how their numbers put up and the inconsistencies. But yeah, I just don't see it. I don't think that's a good fit. Honestly, they should have probably drafted Justin Fields because they were already really stacked at cornerback. Don't get me wrong, Surtain was a good pick. But yeah, I think going forward, they're either going to draft a guy. I think they'll probably go in the draft this year for someone.
Okay. So if the Chiefs win, they got to win this game, and the Titans got to lose to get the number 1 seed. Think that's going to be an easy feat?
I think they could do it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Titans are right now the number 1 seed, but they haven't been dominant. And the Texans have been playing teams tough. You saw them upset the Chargers, and you saw them also put up a great fight for the majority of the game against the 49ers. So, I think this is going to be a tough one for them.
Okay. So let's go on to actually Alex M. Very quick, because we got other stuff to go on to. Do you think it's an easy feat? Chiefs have to win and Titans got to lose to clinch number 1.
Definitely Chiefs can win. Chiefs I think are going to dominate this game regardless. When you look at Texans, Titans, Titans, like Connor said, haven't been dominant. They really haven't. Ever since Derrick Henry got out, they haven't been dominant. And they were 8-2 when they lost to the Texans, and they dropped 8-3 just like that. And that started also a couple shaky games for them too. So Texans have been playing teams up, but Texans have beaten the Titans. And I think as much as the Texans have their problems, this is a game that they want to go in and knock off their division rival and have them drop in the seeding and prevent them from having a first round bye. So I think Texans definitely can have what it takes to actually pull this game out.
Okay. Alex S.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's barely any question that the Chiefs will win tomorrow, just because I don't think highly of the Broncos and stuff. But in terms of whether or not they'll get the 1 seed, I know the Titans lost to the Texans earlier this year, but they'll be playing for the win very hard. So I don't think they're going to lose easily. If you're asking me right now, I don't think the Titans will lose on Sunday, but it could easily happen. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans lose to the Texans, but I just don't see it happening right now with the way they're going.
Okay. Now, quick score predictions. Let's start with Alex S.
For which game exactly?
For this game.
Okay. This Titans-Texans, I'm going to go 24-20. And then, yeah.
Alex M.
For which one? Chiefs Broncos or Texans Titans?
Chiefs Broncos.
Because he was kind of going off of random there. But Chiefs Broncos, I honestly see that being 27-17.
Connor.
I'm going with I think the Chiefs give a good hand right there, and I think they win 31-14.
I'm going to go Chiefs 31, Broncos 10. Okay, so now we move on to the other Saturday game, which is the only NFC game we're going to be talking about today. The NFC, as we affectionately call it here at SIN, the NFC least. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's going to be the Saturday night game. And can we all admit this game is kind of pointless once you think about it? Can we all admit this? Okay, am I the only one who thinks this?
I'll let
No, I
Connor
agree.
speak on it first because it's his.
I mean, for both teams, yeah, you could say that. But I mean, for the Eagles, I think this is kind of one of their games where, if they beat Dallas, then, they're only one game back, like game-wise, in the standings. And, obviously they can't win the division. But if they end up doing better in the playoffs, then that says a lot more about their season than the Cowboys season. So I think this is a huge one, especially when a lot of people didn't believe in the Eagles to begin the season. For the Cowboys, they need to bump back. They've been struggling on offense, and they kind of need to just improve on that whole side of the field. So I think it's kind of a tune-up game for the Cowboys and a redemption game and kind of motivation a game for the Eagles.
Yeah, going off of that, when you actually look at it, Eagles have won 7 of their last 9 games. They actually have been, unfortunately, have been doing very well across that stretch. But this still is NFC East division rivalry. It was one of the most classic rivalries in football history. And when you really look at it, Cowboys embarrassed the Eagles. I think, what was it, week 3, week 4, if I'm not mistaken, Connor, right?
Yeah, week 3.
Yeah, week 3, 41-21. That's a 20-point blowout. To me, does it matter in terms of obviously division-wise? No, because they're obviously not going to win the division. And this is just more about, do you want to be the 6th seed or do you want to be the 7th seed in the end? But when you really look at this game, this is a huge motivation for the Eagles to prove that they belong in the playoffs and that they can try and compete with Dallas, who has been one of the best teams in the NFC this year. So I think when you really look at this is more on the Eagles side, if anything.
Alex S.
Well, one thing that I think we didn't note yet is that I think Micah Parsons is on the COVID list, meaning he likely won't play this game. So that helps the Eagles out a lot, I think. I mean, it's still going to be a tough game, but that gives them a much better chance to win, in my opinion. And plus,
also, Trayvon Diggs is questionable as well.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, Trayvon Diggs, he either gets burned or he gets an interception. That's the story with him. So, yeah. But I mean, for the Cowboys, I don't know, because I feel like they've feasted off an easy schedule, and that's why they're in a good position that they are. But if they lose, I think that clinches the 4th seed for them. So they have motivation to win and hope that the Rams and Buccaneers lose as well. But I think the Eagles also have motivation to try to get the 6 instead of the 7, as Alex M pointed out.
Yeah, because we might see this same matchup in the playoffs as well. I remember a couple of years, actually it was a long time ago now, but I remember the Cowboys played the Eagles back-to-back weeks. We could see that happen. Who knows?
It could happen.
Could you imagine, though, if I could imagine, Bill, how he would feel, though, if it was conference championship somehow with the seeding the way it worked, if it became Cowboys-Eagles?
Oh, you know what I would do for that?
What?
For those of you who've been listening to the Sports Insanity podcast, that would be my response. The bag of shame. And I'm just doing this because I'm a bitter Giants fan. Like my other 2 good friends here. Oh, come on. That would be my worst nightmare. But I have to ask you, and I was talking today to Old Ops guy, Mark Halpern, aka Old Ops guy, who is a big Cowboys fan. Shout out to him. He said Dallas should rest Zeke, Dak, Cooper, and Smith I'm going to start with Connor. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I disagree. Just because I feel like the team has just been playing terribly on offense, and they need to kind of get it together. They keep saying every week, we're going to step it up, but they never step it up. And for example, last week against the Cardinals, the team was only a couple plays away from winning that game. Same with the Bucks in week 1. But like all the losses are close losses, except, the Broncos game. They need to step up their offense. That's all I can say. I disagree with that, but I can understand where he's saying that.
Okay, Alex M.
Well, I get Connor's point. They kind of need to start really building back up momentum with the way the offense has played lately. But see, my question to you, Connor, is though, because I am curious, would you consider though letting Zeke rest? Because Zeke, we saw for 4 or 5 straight games, he's been limping off the field with a bruised knee problem. And they really have never given him the rest that he actually needs. And also this next game, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Tony Pollard is questionable too.
Yeah, he's questionable too, which I think would put us, I think our third back is Ito Smith. Okay. I don't know if he got relegated back to the practice squad, but I know we did have him there for a little bit. But yeah, honestly, I would give Zeke. Zeke would be one of the only exceptions. But also, like, if Pollard is like good to go, then play him. Have him be the starting back for this game. But yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I think Zeke is the only guy I would say is worth sitting.
Okay, yeah, because when I look at it, I think you need Dak to play. I think you really need your receivers out there. The only guy I really don't want to see out there is Zeke, just solely because with the way this season has been for him, they have not actually taken part in giving him the rest he needs to actually become healthy to play in the playoffs. Like, he's been brutally beaten. We've seen him. He's taken hard hits this year, harder than any year he's had before, and he's had a rougher season this year than any season before.
Also, too, another thing we got to think about, too, is Michael Gallup last week tore his ACL. So that's another thing that has to be considered when trying to reboot this whole offense again. But I think, honestly, don't get me wrong, I like Michael Gallup. I think he's a wide receiver 2, and maybe on a not so good team, a wide receiver 1. But I really like what Cedric Wilson does for the team. I think he adds a little bit more. Maybe Gallup's the better wide receiver, but I think he complements the Cowboys better. Wilson does.
All right. Alex asks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think really Zeke is the only player they should rest, because especially if they want to win this game in hopes of getting it higher than the 4th seed, they'll need their starters to play. But yeah, Zeke, I think he's wearing a knee brace right now. That's correct. Like, it would do him no good to play him. It would just probably get hurt even more, and possibly it could knock him out of the playoffs. So yeah, I would start Dak, but I don't think Zeke should start regardless.
Yeah, well, like, here's the thing. At one point, I kind of agree that maybe you should rest them, because I don't want to say this game is meaningless. Like, the only thing, because they're both in the playoffs. Cowboys and Eagles are both in the postseason. The only thing is, this is about seeding now. This is about seeding. So you're in the postseason, but you do want to get a higher seed. So that's my only big thing. And the thing is, if you play any of them and they get hurt, you screwed the pooch. Congratulations. So, yeah, I would say maybe play some of them, maybe a quarter or a half, and then sit them, because you don't want to, you don't want to risk any of them getting hurt. And I know that's football. You get hurt, but do I sound crazy right now?
No, I think it's fair to say,
Okay, I'm not crazy. Good. Well, at least not according to the New York State Board of Psychiatrists. But anyway, okay. Now we move on to Sunday. And we got some games to talk about. And we're actually going to be we're only going to be talking about games that actually, means something. Okay, we're going to start off with the Colts and Jaguars. If the Colts win this one, they are in. Last week, you had 108 yards from Jonathan Taylor, who is hot. And the defense had 33 takeaways, which is tied for first in the NFL. And yeah, let's start with the Colts first. Alex S., what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I think this should be an easy win for the Colts, considering the Jaguars have had a lot of problems with Urban Meyer, even though he's gone now. But the Jaguars might try to play spoiler, but I honestly don't see it. I think Colts just need to play the way they've been playing, and they're in.
Alex M.?
That's literally it. The Jaguars, sure, weeks ago they only lost by 6 to the Colts, but this is a different Colts team than that. And at the same time, this is a game where Colts need to win. They don't want to afford to lose this game. And at the same time, what do the Jaguars have that they can actually beat the Colts with? Everyone is either hurt or underperforming, and Colts have been a dominant force. That defense will embarrass that Jaguars offense, and Jonathan Taylor is going to wipe the floor. I think 147 rushing yards exactly.
Exactly. Right on the money, Alex?
Right on the money.
Care to place a wager?
Not right now.
I'll bump you up even more. I'm going to say 183.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah.
Show him up.
But no, I agree. Yeah, the Colts should win this game. I saw an interesting statistic, though. I believe the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2015, I believe,
14.
or something similar. 14,
2014.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Who would have thought that? But yeah, and also thinking too, the Jaguars beat the Bills, who are in the playoffs, and then the Dolphins that were close to making the playoffs, blows my mind. But yeah, I think the Colts should have get it done, and just hand it off to Jonathan Taylor. Should be fine.
Just give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. As my brother Dan Murphy would say, run the damn ball. Shout out to you, bro. But anyway. But now let's look over the Jaguars. Okay, you know what? What's the thing about it? Is there really anything to talk about with the Jaguars once you think about it?
No.
I would say the one big thing is, man, Trevor Lawrence is underperforming so bad, and it's getting concerning.
Because he actually leads the league in interceptions with 17. Mm-hmm. And listen, I know a lot of people are going to go, well, Trevor Lawrence is overrated. True to a point. But here's where I will cut Trevor Lawrence a little bit of slack. He was just thrown into a really bad situation with Urban Meyer, which I've been saying since last January, and this was actually written in a piece. You can check it out, www.sportsinsanitynetwork.com. I wrote this with our good friend and colleague Mike Rifkin. I said this. Urban Meyer was not a good hire for Jacksonville. I've been saying that since day one. But what you got to do? Because I said you're going to need someone who is going to mold Trevor Lawrence into an NFL quarterback. And Urban Meyer was not the guy.
I do feel bad, though, for Trevor, honestly, because you look at it, starting off, Tim Tebow, that whole scenario where he had to worry about, everybody paying attention to Tim Tebow.
No amount of prayer could save that team.
Yeah. and then you had the whole couple different situations with Urban Meyer. And then also you had ETN, his college teammate, that whole situation. DJ Chark, all these injuries too, man. I really do feel bad for him.
Alex asked, what are your thoughts on Jacksonville?
Yeah, I mean, I think like just Trevor Lawrence was just thrown into a bad situation that he just can't succeed in, regardless of all the college success he had. Just not gonna be able to do it. And plus, when's the last time a head coach got fired in the middle of his first year? I mean, that's unheard of.
The Atlanta Falcons coach, I think it was in 2007, I want to say, Bobby Petrino, I think his name was.
Okay,
Alex
yeah.
M, Connor, Alex S.
Bobby Petrino, yeah.
Yeah.
And I even said his name right. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I think Jacksonville is just a dumpster fire. They're just an absolute dumpster fire right now. Hopefully they can get a good coach in the offseason who's gonna, again, mold Trevor Lawrence into an NFL quarterback.
And by the way, yeah, I remember, like, do you hear about how all their fans are going to be showing up wearing clown costumes to to troll their owner, Khan?
Yeah, no, because the owner is partially to blame because he was stupid enough to hire Urban Meyer. So yeah, he deserves that.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, to all the Trevor Lawrence haters out there, don't sit here and make fun of him. Like, yeah, he kind of sucks this year. But like I said, he was kind of thrown in a bad situation. And hopefully next year they get someone who can mold him, who can work with him better. And then maybe I'll cut him more slack than I'm already cutting him. So, okay, Colts, Jaguars. And like I said, that Colts team, can we all agree, that Colts team is dangerous.
They are.
They really are.
They really are.
A big sleeper.
Yeah. Okay. So let's score predictions. Alex M.
34-10 Colts.
Alex S.
30-17 Colts.
Connor.
42-10 Colts.
42-10 Colts. I'm going Colts 35, Jaguars 10. Okay. Next on the docket. This is going to be a good one, folks. The Chargers and the Raiders. If either of them win, they're in. They are in. Let's start with Alex Etch. Your thoughts on this game, Chargers and Raiders.
Yeah, honestly, there's a reason this was flexed to Sunday Night Football. I think this is really the only exciting game on Sunday that actually means anything. Because I saw like somewhere that if they tie, they both make it into the playoffs. If some other,
it's if the Colts lose, and then they should agree on a tie, because if they both tie and the Colts lose early on in the day, then they both make the playoffs. Yeah.
God bless the NFL. God bless them.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Before we continue, if that was the case, but they had to actually play, would you guys want to see like the whole 3-hour fiasco tie fest happen? Would you want it to be like an all-out punt fest, like they just punt the whole time, they just kneel the whole time? How would you guys want your tie fest?
I don't want to see a shootout.
You want to, yeah. You just want them to like make sure it's like 42-42 or something, and then
No, just blitz that. Just blitz every play. Just let these receivers go up and break records.
Just blitz it. Well, let's do a field goal kickoff.
Do punt block every play.
That would be sick. So, okay. So, what do you guys think of this game? We're going to start with Mr. Douglas.
Oh, I like this game. It's going to be really interesting. Really, I'm in my head right now. I'm torn on who I want to take. I like the Chargers better. I think they're a more complete team. They're more entertaining to watch, honestly. But with Derek Carr, he just motivates this team and is able to push this team to levels that they shouldn't be in, really, because they lack a lot of talent in a lot of different positions. And if they had a quarterback that might not be as good as Carr, they'd probably be like a 2-3 win team right now. Like if you were to put one of the rookies in the situation and throw them in Las Vegas, I think they would be struggling right now. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. Alex, what do you think?
I mean, I think this is probably the more exciting matchup for everyone heading into this game, but I want to give a lot of credit to the Raiders, considering all the crap that they've had to go through this year. When you had early on in the year with Gruden, and then you have the Henry Ruggs situation, Derek Carr has helped to put this team in a position where they can make the playoffs. And this isn't a losable game by any means. They can win this game. We have seen them be in tough situations. So I think Derek Carr deserves a lot more credit than he's actually not getting right now. But honestly, with this too, the Chargers offense is just so dynamic. They're incredible. You have Herbert's playing incredible, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. And Mike Williams actually, I think, has stepped it up more this year than any other year of his career. So when I really look at this matchup, there's a lot on the line here. And I do think Chargers will take it, but this could legitimately come down to the wire. And I think we're going to see probably it's going to take a game-winning drive maybe to end this.
All right. Alex S.
Yeah, like what Alex M said, like the Raiders, I'm kind of rooting for them to win just because of all the crap they've had to deal with throughout the year. But I do think in the end the Chargers will only by the slightest of margins come out victorious. But either way, I think it'll be a great game to watch.
Yeah, because like we've been saying, through all the crap the Raiders have been going through this year with Gruden and all the other crap, if they win, I think you kind of see happy to them because, like you guys said, Derek Carr has been motivating this team. Am I right? So
Yes.
Definitely.
So who do you think is going to get that spot? Is it going to be the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego, or is it going to be the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland?
It's so tough. But for me, and I've been flipping it back for the last couple minutes. I don't know how confident I feel in this pick, but I'm actually going Las Vegas, 30-27. I think Carlson hits a game winner, and then the Raiders get destroyed in the first round. I mean, it sucks because even if you look at the schedule, the Raiders have been getting destroyed by playoff teams. They played the Chiefs, they got destroyed. They played the Bengals, they got manhandled. So I don't think they're going to be doing well in the playoffs, but I think they'll make that leap in there by winning this game.
Okay. We're going to go with predictions now. We're going to start off with Alex S. What is your prediction for this game?
I'm going to say Chargers 40-37.
High scoring game and close. I like it. Alex M.
This is going to be a great game down to the wire. I think Chargers pull this one out 31-28.
Connor.
Yeah, and once again, I'm not confident in this one, but I'm saying it. I think Las Vegas wins 30-27, and they get in there.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Chargers 31, Raiders 28. So we all think it's going to be a close game. It's all going to be a close game. Okay. Now we got to move to let's talk about the AFC East for a bit. What do you guys think? Okay, we got two AFC East games. The first one we're going to talk about is Bills and Jets. Bills, shout out to Nate Moser and to Adam from Shotgun Wishbone. I get those two confused if Rifkin or Trombley are watching, please don't hurt me. But you got the Bills and the Jets. Let's talk about that. If the Bills win, they're in. They win, they're in. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, win.
They're
no,
already
win
in. They're
or
already
Patriots
in.
loss.
Yeah.
Win or Patriots loss.
They're
and they win the AFC East.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Okay, so let's start with Alex M. What do you think?
Oh, looking at Bills Jets game, I mean, Bills beat them, I'm pretty sure, 45-17 last time. So I have no doubt in my mind that Bills will wipe the floor with the Jets again. But no offense to the Jets, but Bills obviously a better team. And then, I mean, New England, Miami, they went from a 7-game lose streak to a 7-game win streak, and then they lose last week, unfortunately, ending their playoff run, but playing playoff chances. But Patriots are a tough team regardless, and this could be a tough game, especially because it's in Miami, and we all know how Brady was in Miami. We all know how Belichick has handled in being in Miami playing games, so he's had his fair share of problems. But either way, both should win because Bills and Patriots are just two dominant forces right now, regardless, and they're two of the best teams in the AFC. So, regardless, they're both going to win their games. But at the end of the day, obviously, Bills will get the division right there because of it.
Okay, and do we really need to talk about the Jets? And no offense to our good friends, to Vice President Dan Ryans, aka Danny Boy Reginald, and Big Brother Eric Ford, who's usually here, but he was unavailable tonight. Yeah, no offense to you guys, but yeah. Connor, what do you think this game?
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of relatively low scoring in my mind. It's a divisional game. We got to keep that in mind. So a lot of these ones that we might think are blowouts are going to be really close. So yeah, that should be interesting. And also, I'm pretty interested into seeing New England's matchup and seeing how that goes. But I have Buffalo winning the AFC East.
Okay, Alex S.
I mean, the Bills-Jets game, I do think the Bills will win, but I think it might be a little closer than some people think because of
Really?
because remember, the Jets had a lead over the Buccaneers until they blew it in the final minutes.
And that was after the strip show we got.
Yeah, that was funny. I do think the Bills will win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout per se. And then the Dolphins-Patriots game, I think it's not going to be a blowout either, but I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I do see Patriots winning. And then, yeah, I think both games, they're not going to be blowouts, so they're just not going to be close ones either, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the Bills have been kind of iffy this year. They've been doing good, but they've been kind of iffy. Am I right? Yeah, but I think the Bills, I don't want to say they got this division locked up because anything could happen. And I think Pat fans are going to be chanting 3 words they don't want to chant. Let's go, Jets.
And see, this is the thing. The Pats could still get the 1 seed.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. But so what is your prediction for the Jets-Bills game? Connor, we're starting with you this time.
Okay. Oops, I don't know what I did there. Okay. I am going with 26-13 Bills.
26-13 Bills?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Alex S.
I'm going to go 28-17 Bills.
Alex M.
I'm going to go 24-7 Bills.
Oh, you have it as a blowout.
I mean, Connor had a 16-point game, did he not just now? Or was it 13?
Yeah, you guys both have it a blowout. Alex S is the only one who has it as a somewhat close game. I'm going to say.
No, I understand he's going off of last week, but each week is different. And considering Bills blew them out 45-17, I don't think Bills, it's not totally out there that they could blow them out easily. Again, regardless of being iffy. The Jets game was not iffy for them weeks ago. So
I'm going to say Bills 24, Jets 10. Okay, and now we go over to the next AFC game, Pats and Dolphins. First of all, shout out to Mike Rifkin. But I just want to say this. Mac Jones, I'm going to start by saying this. Mac Jones has been the best rookie quarterback this year.
easily.
Hashtag fight me. No, I've all the rookie quarterbacks. I think Mac Jones is the best. He was basically my sleeper guy because I thought it was going to be either Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence, but Mac Jones is having a hell of a year. And I think he is that rebuild piece of the New England Patriots. Because last year, you know what's coming, guys. You know what's coming. When Brady packed his swim trunk to South Beach, and that resulted in a restraining order. And that restraining in Tom Brady said to be a restraining order.
I thought we weren't allowed to talk about this on air after last time.
What was that, Connor?
I said I thought we weren't allowed to talk about this on air, after the legal troubles that we had to fight last time.
Well, you know what? I'm a good distance away from Tom Brady, so this is more than 1,000 feet, isn't it?
That's fair. I'll allow it.
I'm in this undisclosed location. Please don't tell them where I am.
Bill, who knows, man? You might have to come in and be the wide receiver for the Bucs.
That's going to be a problem because I can't be at more than 1,000. I can't be less than 1,000 feet away from Tom Brady. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Okay. But anyway, Mac Jones is the best quarterback, is the best rookie quarterback so far this year. And I think the Pats can win this game. What do you guys think? We're going to start with Alex M.
Well, I think Pats will win this game, but it's definitely going to be a closer game than Bills Jets. And going off of what you said, Mac Jones, and I said this to Connor when the draft happened, like I said, the only way I would see Mac Jones ever having a successful career is if he got picked by the Patriots. That's the only system he really would work best in because it's similar to Saban's. That's what he needed. Granted, though, we don't know what could happen with Trey Lance, though. He could become the best quarterback from this draft class. We don't know.
Or Davis Mills.
Granted, at the end of the day, I think Zach Wilson could have a brighter future out of all these. It could have a better future than some of these guys. Mac Jones obviously is in a better position now, but Trey Lance, I like what I saw from him last week. So rookie quarterbacks go. Obviously this year it's Mac, but who knows next year who the better sophomore will be. But Pats, this is a game where Bill wants to make a statement. I think we all know Bill Belichick wants to make a statement with this game and show that the Pats are not fooling around. They have a legitimate chance, especially with how mixed that AFC is right now with contenders, how they easily have a chance to make a run for it.
Yeah, and I just want to go off before we get to Alex S. Before we get off to Alex S. Because I've said this last year, Brady wanted to prove I don't need Bill Belichick to win a championship. And now I think Belichick is the opposite. He goes, I don't need Tom Brady to win a championship. So I think that's what Belichick has to prove, because I asked this last year. Was it Belichick that needed Brady, or was it Brady that needed Belichick? So we'll see with that. Alex S., we're over to you, my friend.
So in terms of this game, I mean, like the Dolphins were obviously they just got their win streak snapped, but I do think it'll also be more competitive than the Jets-Bills game, especially because the Dolphins probably want to play spoiler as well, since, they hate the Patriots and everything. But I do think the Patriots will win this game eventually when it's all said and done. But I think it'll also be a nice close contest that's interesting to watch.
Connor.
Okay. Yeah, and I think there's a potential that we might see a Dolphins upset this one. And I think Dolphins are actually a really good team. And I think the team will use it as motivation to kind of go at this New England team. They have nothing to lose. Why not? So I think this is going to be a close one, and could be a momentum stopper for the Pats.
Yeah, it could be. If the Pats win, they win the AFC East. If the Bills lose, and they can clinch the 1 seed, they need to win. The Bills, Chiefs, and Titans all need to lose.
Well, this reminds me, remember in 2019 when the Dolphins pulled off the upset against the Patriots week 17 and knocked the Patriots out of the 2 seed, meaning they lost their first round bye, and then that helped the Chiefs clinch the 2 seed, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. And like that was probably the biggest upset of the year, and all Patriots haters were celebrating because the dynasty came to an end in their view.
I was celebrating as well.
Anyway,
but before we go on the prediction, you got to say that Miami team, although they're eliminated, you got to give these guys some props. You really do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm sure Mike Griffin is happy I said that.
It was the first team ever to have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak the same season.
Yeah, like these guys started off 1-7, then they won 7 consecutive games. You got to give these guys some props. And do you think now the Miami organization has faith in Tua right now?
I would say so. I mean, Tua did have a little injury problems in the first half of the season. We all saw that, but to go from 1-8 or just to go from 1-7 to 8-7, just like that. I know people are going to say when you really look at those 7 opponents that they beat, all of them had a losing record except for the Ravens at that point. But still, regardless, going on a 7-game win streak when you were already 1-7 is more than impressive. And Tua is one of the biggest factors. And if I'm not mistaken, most of his games he had a 70% completion practically. So he was more than serviceable, and he was making the plays needed to win those games. So I think obviously there's always going to be questions about, should they move on from Tua? I know there are going to be haters out there, but for right now, Tua should stay. They should look to keep Tua moving forward because he actually had a better year than expected, probably from a lot of haters.
Okay. Score predictions. We're going to start with Connor this time.
Okay, I am going upset mode right here. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins 24-22. I think it's going to be a game-winning field goal. I also I got the score wrong. I was thinking 24-23 actually out of the prediction as. And the reason why is I have the Pats getting a safety during the game. So that's my little bold prediction.
Okay. Alex M.
Well, going off of Connor's just crazy prediction right there, I'm going to say it's going to end 27-21 Pats. This is going to be a tough game. And in Pats fashion, we're going to see this come down to a game-winning stop for them on the defensive side.
Alex S.
So I think my prediction will be 28-24 Patriots. It'll be a close game. The Patriots ultimately pull through.
I'm going to say 24-14 Patriots. Okay. Guys, we're getting to the end. We're getting there, folks. I promise. Okay, Bengals and Browns. No, we're not talking about that game. I'm not going to put you guys through that.
Please don't.
Thank you.
Okay, Giants and Washington.
Man, you're putting us through more pain. What the hell?
You really think I'm going to put you through that? You think I'm really going to put you guys through that and talk about a completely useless game that I'm probably going to have my bag over my head to talk about?
So Jake Fromm isn't the guy?
No.
No.
He wasn't the guy for Georgia. He certainly isn't the guy.
I know. That one's painful as a Georgia fan. That one's painful to admit too.
And let's just also give another Tua shout out when he came in and came back against Jake Fromm just like that and won the national championship.
Yeah, I try not to remember that day.
Yeah. Okay, for anyone that doesn't realize, Connor is a Georgia fan, so it's brutal for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so next game is Texans and Titans. Okay, if the Titans, this is an easy one. If the Titans win, they're in. Titans win, and they are in. I'm actually going to start off this one. I think the Titans, they haven't been overtly dominant, but I think they are still a strong team because they had Derrick Henry out. A.J. Brown's been out. But I still think they're holding it together. If they win, they get the number 1 seed. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, last week they had a really dominant win against Dolphins. That was a huge win for them. Yeah, it really depends if they can perform well. I mean, we don't know if Derrick Henry's going to play this week. Probably not. But if they're able to get a nice win in that 1 seed, you give Derrick Henry an extra 2 weeks to rehabilitate, and you get that extra game less. You just need to win 2 games to go to the Super Bowl. I think they're in good position here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot riding on this game for Titans. What people don't realize is regardless, Texans did beat them weeks ago, but Titans are in a position where they could easily not only, granted, if they win this game and become the 1 seed, I will say that they could be one of the worst regular season 1 seeds that we've seen, obviously, considering how that offense has performed without Henry. But there's a lot of motivation because I don't want to see Henry back this week. I really don't, solely because if you can win this game without him, and if you do, like Connor said, you give him those 2 weeks rest, he's going to be probably the biggest factor throughout the entire AFC playoffs in order to get to that Super Bowl. And that would be huge for them moving forward.
Oh, if you rest Derrick Henry for 2 weeks, he's going to be unstoppable.
Exactly.
He's going to be absolutely unstoppable. And let alone before he was hurt, he was the front runner for MVP. Derrick Henry was the front runner for MVP. A lot of people don't remember that. And welcome to SIN ASMR edition.
We might have to start an ASMR sports podcast. I'm really thinking about that after you did that.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the Sports ASMR podcast. We got a lot to talk about today. It's just us whispering into the mic.
And then we just put in like Philly soundtracks of them like booing Santa Claus or something, like boo, like people just yelling at each other.
Patchman, if you are listening, we need to talk. That should be a thing. The ASMR podcast. We're doing it. We might not do it. We don't know. See what kind of mood we're in. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Who hasn't talked yet? I'm sorry. I got distracted. Okay. Connor, your thoughts on Titans, Derrick Henry?
Yeah. I just think that with the Titans, they should just let them rest. And if they get that 1 seed, let's not forget, though, too, the last couple of years, they've been playing well in the playoffs, too. They had that AFC championship run where they almost could have won. But, we'll have to see how they do, man.
All right, Alex S.
Yeah, I think it makes much more sense to rest Henry this week. You want to keep him fresh for the playoffs. And I think that the Titans will beat the Texans, but it will probably be close considering the Texans did beat them earlier this year.
Yeah. So the Texans, what do you guys think?
I think one of the in regard, you're asking how we think of the Texans, correct?
Yeah.
I think they've definitely improved a lot. I think I forget the guy's name. Who's the coach of Houston? Culley or whatever?
David Culley.
Culley. I think Culley deserves to keep his job. He's turned the team around a lot. I think Davis Mills deserves a shot to continue. I think he's been playing phenomenal. You can make an argument he's probably been the second best quarterback, rookie quarterback, and I could stand on that ledge and defend that take. But he's been playing well. Got to give him credit. They used a 4th-round pick. People were like, why use that 4th-round pick? It was their first pick in the draft for the Texans. But yeah, just add a couple more pieces, and who knows, this team could contend.
Alex S.
Sorry, I think that like with the Texans, like they're not good, but they've become kind of scrappy. Like they play teams close, and like I don't know, they still think they need an upgraded quarterback, obviously with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. But like they seem like a team that if they draft the right pieces next year and start building more talent, I think they can be a good team for years to come. Because they're definitely scrappy now. They play teams close that they have no business competing against. So they just need to keep building for the future, in my opinion.
They're basically the AFC version.
Go on.
Yeah, just a quick thing. They're basically the AFC version of the Lions. And if they get the right pieces, both teams, who knows? We could see a Lions-Texans Super Bowl one day.
All right, don't make me puke.
You go, Alex.
Yeah, don't make me puke. But Texans, obviously they had dealt with a lot of crap with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. But Mills a strong quarterback compared to the rest of the quarterbacks league? No. But at the same time, he has played better than what anyone was expecting from a 4th-round pick. And not just that, this Texans team, they have certain solid pieces. They just have to. This isn't like they're going to be in the playoffs next year. They're not going to be in the playoffs the year after that, I think. But this could be like a 3-year rebuild for all we know. This could be another 3-year rebuild. You bring in new pieces as well. You add to it. You fill in the gaps, and as well you grow together with the young core. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Brandon Cooks. This is his 6th 1,000-yard season in his 8-year career, and no one gives him credit for doing that with the terrible quarterbacks he's dealt with the past couple of years. So kudos to him.
His stats are almost as comparable, like over the last couple of years, to even Devontae Adams, and nobody really talks about that as well.
Yeah. So anyway, Alex M, I have to ask you before we go to predictions, why would a Texans-Lions Super Bowl make you puke?
Did you just hear what you said? Texans-Lions. No one wants to see that Super Bowl. No one in their right mind wants to see it. I bet you Lions fans wouldn't want to see the Texans being against them just because that would be a terrible matchup. Unless, we're
powerhouse, big market.
Yeah, powerhouse, big market. Yep, yeah, totally.
Hey,
definitely.
If that's a Super Bowl, they better have the best damn halftime show ever to keep people there. They better have the best halftime show and the best commercials.
Just realize, guys, we're young. We're going to see a lot of Super Bowls. There's going to be one of the matchups down the line that we don't see happening 20, 30 years down the line. It's going to be like a matchup like that. And we're going to be like, what the hell?
Yeah, and in these past 55 years, people still haven't seen the Lions in the Super Bowl. So that could keep going for another 50 years.
What if we saw a Giants-Jaguars Super Bowl?
Maybe in 2055, we'll see Pat Mahomes Jr. lead the Houston Texans against Tom Brady III.
You mean Tom Brady will still be playing? We know he will.
It will. Yeah, you're right.
Probably. He never ages. He's immortal. But what would you say to a Giants-Jaguars Super Bowl?
Oh gosh,
I would love to see Tom Coughlin in the house for that Super Bowl. That's all I gotta say.
God bless the NFL. Okay, so what is our predictions? Texans Titans.
I'm saying Titans 23-13.
I'm going with Titans 31-20.
I'm gonna say Titans 25, Texans 20.
I'm going to go Titans 27, Texans. Sorry, can't talk today. Texans 13. And okay, last game we're going to talk about. Then we're going to get to the 5. Okay. the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is going to most likely be Big Ben's last game if the Steelers don't make the postseason.
Boo-hoo.
You don't like Big Ben, do you?
I'm sorry. I don't want to be the one to say what kind of person he is, but I think we all know what kind of person he is. But
A future Hall of Famer. No.
respect. Respect. He doesn't respect people, obviously.
Okay, that is true, unfortunately. But Alex's hate of Big Ben.
No, I will say, just looking NFL alone, he's had a great career for himself. I think we all know that. He's been to 3 Super Bowls, has his two rings, though 2 of his performances are considered 2 of some of the worst performances ever. Regardless, doesn't matter. Big Ben still has ended as a top 7, top 8 quarterback in terms of passing category, passing stats. So we have seen that he's had a solid career. And to me, this game isn't about Big Ben. This game is about TJ Watt trying to break the sack record. That's what.
Yes, absolutely. TJ Watt. Okay, we're talking about the Steelers first. TJ Watt. I love that guy.
Incredible. Yeah. Absolutely. And Bill, I was talking to Connor about this week. What's crazy about this is when you actually look at TJ Watt's career, he compared to JJ's. When you actually look at it, after this game, TJ would have played 3 games less than JJ. And we don't know. But right now, let's just say this. He's played 4 games less, and he has 71 sacks, while JJ had 74.5. Let's just realize how close that is, like how their careers have been.
Oh.
But
Connor, what do you think with the Steelers and Big Ben and TJ Watt?
Yeah. First with TJ Watt, I think he gets 24 total sacks. I think that's what he's going to end up. He's going to have a monster game. So that's what I think. And then in regards to Big Ben, I mean, sayonara, dude. I mean, no offense to any Big Ben lovers or haters or whatever, or whoever gets offended. Boo-hoo. I just not a big fan of him, but, good for him, man. Great career. And he'll go down as one of the best Steelers of all time. And I mean, it really depends on if Lamar plays or not. But, I don't think we're going to see that great of a performance from Big Ben here.
No.
Personally. Because let's not forget, this is in Baltimore as well. So.
Okay. And with Big Ben haters, as Connor said something nice about Big Ben, Alex is fuming.
I already gave him his respect on his career, but as a human being, he's terrible. So
agreed.
We can move on. Go to Alex S.
Alex S., your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really have much interest in this game because, I don't really see what's on the line here. But I am interested though to see TJ Watt, as Alex M pointed out, and then Ben Roethlisberger. He's not a good person, but he deserves respect for his career. Even though I don't like him as a person, he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think more people are going to want to watch TJ Watt than Ben Roethlisberger. But like I said, despite off the field, Big Ben on the field, great quarterback. But what they have to do to get into the playoffs. They got to win. Colts got to lose, and the Chargers and Raiders game has to not end in a tie.
There's
okay,
a lot
can we
of
just say that is so weird? Can we just say that?
It's a lot of ifs, and it's a weird scenario to be in. But I'm not surprised that the Steelers would be the ones to be in this situation.
What if the Colts lose, and that game does end in a tie, like what we were saying earlier? Punt off.
I don't want to see a punt off, but that would just be terrible.
It'd be hilarious, though. It'd be
It would
absolutely
be.
hilarious. Okay, so let's talk about the Ravens. Let's talk about the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, I watched them this past week. They're a good team, but man, Harbaugh's been coaching the team so bad. There was a very crucial delay of game penalty. They were in the red zone. They had a delay of game, and then they ended up having to kick a field goal. That ended up later leading to the Rams scoring that touchdown on the final drive. Yeah, I'm a little concerned with that team going forward. There's a lot of injuries there, so that's something that has to be considered. But with how bad they've handled the wide receiver situation for many years now, it can't be unnoticed, in my opinion. And a very disappointing season for them.
Yeah, but you got to say this. Tyler Huntley, you got to give this guy some respect here, who, Lamar Jackson gets hurt. Huntley comes in. And this team, they've been kind of falling in and out. But you know what? They have held on to their own. You got to give them that. They have held on to their own. Alex M., your thoughts?
Well, I think you're giving Huntley a little too much credit. It was just one solid game against the Packers, but then when you look at the last couple of weeks, it's been nothing because he was hurt really in the game against the Bengals, and then last week he really underperformed. But Ravens, this just comes down to injuries. That's it. Because if we're really looking at it, before Lamar went down, this is an 8-3 team. This wasn't a joke of a team. This really wasn't. And Lamar getting hurt, their receiver situation, which for years they haven't really had a true solid receiver in their prime, probably in 10 years when you really look at it. But at the same time, I'm not worried about this team next year as long as they're healthy. I think they will be. I think Lamar's going to have a bounce back year next year and overcome his injury from this year. But this was just an unfortunate injury prone year for these guys. And they were the 1 seed 5 weeks ago. There's no reason why they weren't. They were a solid team for majority of the year, and injuries took a toll on them. But this is an unfortunate circumstance for the Ravens this year, but next year I'm not worried for them. They're going to be back in the playoffs better than ever.
Okay, Alex S.
Yeah, with the injuries, not to mention they lost some of their key players before the season even started, including like Marcus Peters and J.K. Dobbins. Mm-hmm. But I think also too, Harbaugh going for 2 when he should have just kicked an extra point. That can ultimately be pointed to as a reason they might not make the playoffs. To go to the point of how Harbaugh has mishandled situations. I do think they'll be good in the future as well if everyone comes back healthy. But yeah, it's just been injury-riddled, disappointing season for them.
Yeah. I agree. So, Ravens, Steelers. What is going to be the final score? We're going to start with Alex S.
This is actually kind of a tough one because they're both evenly matched, but I'm probably going to say Steelers 24, Ravens 20.
Connor.
I'm going with a lot of it depends on if Lamar is going to be playing or not. But I'm going to go 16-13 Ravens.
Alex M.
I think Steelers are going to pull this one out. It's going to be 28-17. And not just that, the biggest person to me in this game is TJ Watt, and I see him getting 2.5 sacks this game.
You think the Ravens are going to pull it out? Okay. My final score, I'm going to agree with Alex S. on here. I think it's a tough game because they are evenly matched, but I'm going Steelers 21, Ravens 17. And I think TJ Watt is going to break that record. For Defensive Player of the Year, I think it's going to be either him or Micah Parsons. It's going to be either TJ Watt or Micah Parsons.
Micah's already lost it.
So TJ Watt's going to get it. He better get it, NFL. Or you'll have to answer to me. A guy in his parents' basement with a microphone. Me. So anyway. Okay. Now It's time for the 5. Okay. Our first question for the 5 is the 5 most under the radar important players in the AFC playoffs. We're going to start with Alex M.
Okay. So when I look at these 5, not in any particular order, one of the first guys that come to mind to me is Trey Hendrickson. I think these past 2 seasons, he has gone really under radar. He's gotten 27.5 sacks combined these 2 years, and it's 2 solid years. There's no reason why people shouldn't be threatened by him. Offensive linemen definitely understand how good he is, but to the media and to fans, no one really thinks about him, which is a sad thing. But the Bengals are all about offense, but this is going to be one of the biggest under radar players because he's going to make some key plays, I think, moving forward, and could be one of the biggest factors in a potential run for them. Next guy for me is, though they haven't clinched it yet, I think they're going to, because they're going to smack the Jaguars. But I think the biggest under the radar player is Carson Wentz. I don't think people realized how much he has turned it around this year. He's played, I think, like 4 more games than last year, but he still has 9 less picks. He's turned down a lot turnover-wise, and he has actually made the smart plays and has depended. Now, I know people will say, like, this game runs through JT for them, but Carson has been able to manage the clock and manage these situations for them and been a big factor for them. So I think he's definitely one of the biggest on the radar. Then I would say Damian Harris for the Patriots. Like, Patriots haven't had a strong rushing attack in a few years, and this kid has played 14 games, has 892 yards. Not just that, he has 14 rushing touchdowns and I think 16 total on the year. He has been a huge factor offensively for them, and that's been one of the biggest reasons why Bill has been able to, when you really watch every game, kill the clock and dominate offensively, is because of Damian Harris. Next guy up to me is Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones hasn't been as dominant as he was a couple years ago, but he has strong veteran leadership, and he's the leader of that defense for the Chiefs. And I think that he is one of the biggest under radar players this year when you actually look at what he's done. And then the last guy to me is Kevin Byard. Now, Kevin Byard had a stronger year than last year. Not just that, people, when they think about safeties, when they think about corners, he is one of those guys that has not come up in discussions. But Kevin Byard, this year, when he has allowed 51% completion, which is the lowest in his career since his rookie year, and he has played strong every single game and has been a dominant force. And Titans, I know a lot of people say rely on Henry, but defense also plays a huge role, and Kevin Byard can be a huge X factor for them.
Okay, Connor, your top 5.
I do. I like the list that Alex has. I have one person in common with him. I'll just throw it out there first. Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals, 14 sacks this season. Last season, also double-digit sacks as well. He's a monster. He's a really good player. Nobody really talks about him, though. Another person, well, I'll give my honorable mention, too. I forgot to mention that. Zay Jones for the Raiders. He's been doing well the last couple of weeks, double-digit targets in multiple games. L'Jarius Sneed, I think, is a really good cornerback for the Chiefs that doesn't get talked about a lot. And if he gets paired up with the right wide receiver, he could dominate a game, or you could put him at safety as well. He plays both well, I think. Then another person that I have my list on notes, so I'll be going back and forth. Zach Cunningham for the Titans. They picked him up late from their rival, the Texans, who released him after giving him a huge deal. He led the league in tackles, I believe, last year off the top of my head. And he's a very, very good player, very underrated, and he's done great since he's joined the Titans. The Pats, I'm going with Kyle Duggar. They drafted him. He was a Division III player that they drafted, and a lot of people were like, why draft a guy in the second round who's a D3 player? Well, the guy's been playing phenomenal this year and deserves a lot of credit. Devin Singletary for the Bills. they've implemented them a lot more over the last few weeks. And I think if they keep doing that, they'll have more success, because that's the biggest problem with the Bills right now is they're too dependent on Josh Allen, and they haven't really had a consistent running game. So I think if they get Singletary involved, that one would be a great idea for them going forward. And then that's everybody. So passing it off.
Alex S., what do you got, buddy?
I think, like, to go along with Alex M., I think Carson Wentz is my number one underrated player, because I kept thinking when the Eagles traded him to the Colts, the only guy who could fix him was Frank Reich, if anybody. And I think, he's done a great job cutting down on his turnovers and stuff. I mean, obviously Jonathan Taylor is probably going to be like carry the load, but I do think Carson Wentz deserves credit as well for improving. And I was right. Frank Reich was the only one that could fix them. My next player, I have Trey Lance as well, seeing that Jimmy G might not play for the 49ers. I think this is a good test for him, like, to see how well he can handle like better defenses and how he does under pressure. Like, this will be a good test to see how much he has for the future if they decide to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. My third player is Boston Scott for the Eagles. I mean, everyone knows him as the Giants killer, but he actually did score 2 touchdowns against Washington last week. So, like, they need to rely on the run game as well, because Jalen Hurts isn't that great of a passer, in my opinion. So if they want to have a chance of like pulling off an upset, I do think they need to rely on their run game a lot. And Boston Scott is one of their key players in that regard that doesn't get talked about much. The fourth player, I kind of think of Hunter Henry, I believe, for the Patriots, the tight end. Like, Mac Jones needs, this is a good test for Mac Jones as well. Another young rookie QB who's going to the playoffs his first year. He needs to rely on his tight end, Hunter Henry, who I feel has been one of his best connections this year. And then also, of course, he himself is one that, like, even though like he's not on my list, but I do think that Mac Jones has a lot to prove in the postseason as well, especially since the Patriots kind of started stumbling since that Colts game a bit. Then my last player is AJ Green for the Cardinals, who like has become more of a factor, like once the Cardinals suffered injuries with DeAndre Hopkins and so on. Like, since the Cardinals got some injuries, I think AJ Green's been having a need to use. They've had to use him more. So I'm interested to see if he can do much for the Cardinals when they enter the playoffs.
Okay. Here's my top 5. And this is in no particular order. I actually put this, I had a really hard time figuring this list. So since everyone else had him, I'm going to put him on Carson Wentz, because he has really come back from his injuries this year. Can we all admit that? He's really come back. And the next one is Tyler Boyd from the Bengals, because, with that wide receiver team, Joe Burrow, who's going to be comeback player of the year this year, you got him, you got Jamar, you got Boyd and Chase. Next one is Derek Carr, because like I said, just not just on the field, but also off the field, being a leader to that team. Austin Eckler from the Chargers and Devin Singletary from the Bills. Those are my top 5. Now, the 5 biggest players in the playoffs that will be the focus of their teams, if their team makes a run, who will it be because? Okay, we're going to switch it up a little. We're going to start with Connor.
Okay, cool. So I'll just keep it short and sweet. All of the people I picked are, basically the franchise players of each team. But, there's a couple in between ones. So honorable mention first, I picked Jamar Chase. I don't think the Bengals are really dependent on him to have a monster game, but if he has a monster game, then that's one of the sure reasons why they're going to win a game. He's just a phenomenal player, especially after last week's performance too. Number 5, I got Mac Jones. If the Pats really want to have a deep playoff run, he's got to at least play, good football. He can't be throwing picks and he can't be making little mistakes that rookies tend to do. So there's a lot of pressure on him. Number 4, I have, let me look here, Pat Mahomes. I put him a little bit farther back because, I feel like he's not the most important, because the 3 I'm about to name are a little bit more important. Like if Mahomes has a slightly off game, then the Chiefs can still pull out the win, I believe. But if these 3 players that I'm about to mention don't, then they don't have a chance. Number 3, I got Jonathan Taylor. We mentioned earlier about Carson Wentz being an important factor to that team. That's why I didn't have him as either 1 or 2, because he's a playmaker, but it's they can still win by Carson Wentz's arm as well. Number 2, I got Josh Allen. I think the Bills, and I've been saying this all year, are too dependent on him in what he can do. If he doesn't have a good game, then the team doesn't really have a good game. I mean, last week he had 3 picks, but they were able to come out with the win. But yeah, I think that's something that has to be considered. So I have him as number 2. And number 1, no player has a bigger impact than this man right here, and that's Derrick Henry. We saw how the Titans were a totally different team when he's on the field. And honestly, I don't care what anyone says. He's the most valuable player to any team in the league. So that's my list.
Okay, then. Alex S., over to you.
Okay, so for number 5, I have Josh Allen as well. I do think that the Bills don't really run the ball enough, and they rely a bit too much on Josh Allen, as Connor pointed out. I think their success, it relies on him for that reason, because if he's not playing well, I don't expect the Bills to make it past the first round. My 4th one is Patrick Mahomes, who has started out the year kind of slow. Everyone was wondering what was wrong with the Chiefs, and then once he finally started turning it on, the Chiefs are now back in the conversation for the 1 seed, which we talked about before. But yeah, if the Chiefs are going to go far, it relies on Patrick Mahomes mostly. Then for my 3rd one, I have Aaron Rodgers, who I'm kind of hoping that finally he advances back to the Super Bowl after 2 consecutive NFC Championship losses. If he is going to go out strong, it's on him, along with Devontae Adams having chemistry. 2nd is Derrick Henry, because I feel like ever since he got injured, the Titans haven't been the same, even though they're obviously right in the mix for the 1 seed. I think if they want to make it back to the AFC Championship game, they're going to need him to get going, because I don't think Tannehill can do it on his own. And then for number 1, I have Jonathan Taylor, who is probably one of the main reasons the Colts are in the position that they are. And if they make it in and Jonathan Taylor goes off, I could see them going to the AFC Championship game potentially. It relies on him mostly.
All right, Alex M.
So if this team makes the playoffs, and I think they will, my 5th guy to start is Austin Eckler. And Bill, I liked how you mentioned before as under the radar, because he has been quite under the radar these past few years. But when you really look at this year, this kid in 15 games has 18 total touchdowns, 800 plus rushing yards, 600 plus receiving yards. Justin Herbert is obviously a really talented quarterback, but the biggest X factor for the Chargers in making a run in these playoffs is most likely Austin Eckler and what he's able to do as probably one of the most explosive players in the league. 4th to me, in this case, I would say, I don't think anyone's mentioned him, but Joe Burrow. To me, Joe Burrow has been having such an incredible comeback year. He really is, and he is the comeback player of the year. And the reason why I say he's probably the biggest important factor is when you look at it, he is the most sacked quarterback in the league. He's been sacked 51 times, but yet he still puts up 4,600 passing yards. He still has a 70% completion, and he's thrown 34 touchdowns. Not many quarterbacks can say that at all. And right now, he has proven to be one of the biggest threats in the league, let alone his own conference. Next up for me is for New England at number 3, to me, is J.C. Jackson. I think he's extremely underrated, and at the same time, he is, to me, the Patriots defense. He has shown to be a true leader on and off the field. He has been a threat and a dominant force to be reckoned with out there. And personally, I believe he's the second best corner in the league, regardless. And when you look at what he's done, he's outperformed majority of cornerbacks this year. And that team relies on defense, and he's, to me, the biggest defensive presence for that team in order to build that run. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, to me, no matter what, he's had an on and off year at times, but this is a guy who, this is his 5th year in the league, and already by his 5th year, he has been an MVP. He has won a Super Bowl and has been to 3 straight AFC championships, let alone win 2 straight to go to the 2 Super Bowls and only win one of them. He knows what it takes to be a winner. He knows what it takes to actually succeed. And he is going to show, I believe, why the Chiefs are still one of the toughest teams to face in the entire conference. And number 1, like Connor said, is Derrick Henry, because let's look at it this way. He should have been MVP last year. And if it wasn't for the injury, he most definitely would have been MVP this year. And the fact that if they get a chance to just rest him these 2 weeks, this is a guy who's going to be, and what we saw 2 years ago, how 3 straight games he dominated in the playoffs regardless. This is a guy who could easily get 150 plus each playoff game he plays in. And this is exactly where he needs to shine and show why the Titans are a threat and could potentially be the Super Bowl champions.
Okay. Very good list. And here's mine. My number 5 is, if he's healthy, Derrick Henry, because that guy is an absolute beast. He can really run, but I am going to hold one thing against him. My first draft fantasy pick curse strikes again, Derek. Because in our league, he was my first pick this year, my first pick, and he gets hurt. It happened to me last year with Christian McCaffrey. It happens this year with Derrick Henry. So now that I got that out of the way, that aside, he actually really carries this team. My number 4 is Mac Jones from the New England Patriots, because, as I said earlier, I think he is having the best rookie season of all the rookie quarterbacks right now. My number 3 is Jamar Chase. Again, that wide receiver core with Tyler Boyd and attach on with the arm of Joe Burrow as quarterback. And Jamar Chase was a beast last week against the Chiefs. So I'm putting him at my number 3. My number 2 is Pat Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think he can really lead this team into the playoffs. And number 1 is Jonathan Taylor. Because, like we said earlier, just hand the ball to Taylor. That's how you're going to win on Sunday, and that's how you're going to get in to the postseason. Okay, last one. What are the 5 biggest questions for the AFC teams that are not going to the postseason? We are going to start with Alex S.
Okay, so my first question, like number 5 that I have, is like, what do the Raiders do with Derek Carr, and who might they hire as their next head coach? Because, like, in my opinion, Derek Carr is not bad, but he hasn't shown me enough to say that he's like the long-term answer. So I think like that's the first important questions the Raiders have, along with who they'll have to replace John Gruden with. Number 4 is, what do the Browns do with Baker Mayfield? Because, like, obviously he's been up and down. Last year I thought he was good, then this year everything's fallen apart. So, like, that's my next question is, do they draft a new QB? Do they trade for one or sign one in the offseason? Or do they just stick with him for one more year to see what he has? Next is, do the Ravens move on from John Harbaugh? And I ask this just because of like all the like the weird coaching decisions he's made, like going for 2 when he should have just tried to kick the extra point. And that's may have costed them a couple of games. Plus, I know like they've suffered a lot of injuries that aren't entirely his fault, but I question like if they need a new voice to lead them, and like how much time Harbaugh has left with them. My second one is who the Jaguars hired to be their next head coach, and like who can actually get something out of Trevor Lawrence. I have heard rumors that they were like contacting the Dallas Cowboys about possibly hiring Kellen Moore to be their next head coach, and I'm not sure I really agree with that because I feel like Kellen Moore is kind of like predictable. Like the Cowboys had a good offense to start the year, and then now it's gone stale. So I don't know how much I really would want him as a head coach, but that's something that I have my eye on. And then my last question, my number one is like, what do the Broncos do with their QB position next year? Because like there's so many different ways they can go, and it seems like nothing's worked since Peyton Manning retired. So like I wonder if they'll finally figure out what's going on at the QB situation, or if this carousel will just go on forever. So those are my 5 questions. You're muted.
Blooper. Connor.
Yeah. Okay. I do like some of the ones that Alex did mention. We have a couple similar ones. First, John Harbaugh with the Ravens. I mean, I like him as a coach, but he did make a lot of questionable decisions. And, do you move on from him, and also do you move on from this whole Lamar Jackson experience too? That's a big question. I'm not saying they should, but I'm just saying you should at least think, because with the injury concerns now, with him rushing the ball as much as he does, is that a constant thread that we're going to have to hear over the next couple of years if they keep him going? Then next, I got the Browns with their quarterback situation with Baker. Do you move on from him? Is Baker the guy? I don't think he is. He's performed terribly. And you can make an argument even Big Ben's had a better year than him. So I think they need a new quarterback there. Also, Pittsburgh. What are they going to do at quarterback? Obviously Big Ben's gone. Do they draft a guy? Do they like who's in-house? That's going to be a very important question. One that's not as interesting is the Texans. Is Davis Mills the guy? He's been playing very well over the last couple of weeks. He had a tough start, but also we got to remember he got catapulted into a position where he was a 4th-round quarterback, had to start it, almost immediately, and he struggled, but now he's doing well. So you got to think, is he the guy? Do you keep him, or do you keep rolling with him, or move on? And then I got the Dolphins. Is Tua the guy? And I think at the moment, I think you roll with him. He's been performing at a great pace this season, and those are my 5 questions. I think I hit it 5. I was going off the top of my head. So,
okay. Alex M.
Yeah.
Well, mine are pretty similar, Connor, and Bill, I blame you just for that, because in reality, I should have gone before Connor instead of being third 2 times in a row here. That is your fault there. But
I'm sorry. My apology tour starts later.
Me instead. You could have had Connor copying me instead. But when I really look at this, I'll just start off with what Connor just ended off with Miami, because I think Tua should be there next year, but there's still a lot of unfortunate haters out there. And at the same time, for all we know, there could be some doubts in the Miami organization. Would they want to look at a more established quarterback still, regardless, and make a trade? And that could are you one established quarterback away from being a tough contender? And then 4th, I want to mention Houston, but not just for not because of Davis Mills. What's going to go on with Deshaun Watson still? What is going to happen with that whole situation? And going off of that, could you want to still finally make that trade for Deshaun to Miami? Just saying, I would, but no offense to Tua, I do like Deshaun, but Tua unfortunately has haters. But next to me is the Jets. Now, the Jets are 4-12 and they had a tough game last week, but I like what I've seen from Joe Douglas, but what moves are you going to make to help boost that offensive line? Because not going to lie, as much as Zach Wilson may have underperformed this year, this guy has played fewer games than most quarterbacks and is still one of the top sack quarterbacks in the league. You have not protected him. You have not done a good job of blocking because Michael Carter wouldn't keep getting hurt as well. So what movements are you going to make with that offensive line? Next up to me is Cleveland. I think you should move on from Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield is average to below average, in my opinion, at least trash. But what are you going to do moving forward? Because you've already had him. He's had enough time to show what he can do. And obviously he doesn't cut it for them. So what are you going to do moving forward on that? And then Pittsburgh, like similar to what Connor said, I mean, who's your next quarterback? You know, you have 3 guys that they brought in there to be right there with Big Ben, but none of them look competent enough to be a leader. Do you look into the draft this year and go late? And maybe if Malik Willis is right there for you guys to have, or would you want to make a trade because you still have a solid defense, you have a solid receiving core and a talented running back? Maybe you don't need those certain picks and you can trade them to bring in a guy like Russell Wilson, which could be a potential big threat for them.
All good questions. My number 5 is, do the Dolphins still have faith in Tua? I think, as Alex said, at this point, you got to roll with him because, again, he led that from 1-7 and then on a 7-game win streak. My number 4 is, who will be Jacksonville's head coach next year? Because after the whole Urban Meyer debacle, like I said earlier, you're going to need someone with experience who's been around the block and who's going to mold Trevor Lawrence into an NFL quarterback. My number 3 is Denver going to trade for Russell Wilson? Because that was one of the places where he wants to go. Or maybe by some weird stroke of luck, are they going to get Aaron Rodgers? Number 2, speaking of Denver, is Vic Fangio going to get fired as the Broncos head coach? Is it time to move on with a new coach and a new quarterback? And my number 1 is, will Baker Mayfield be the quarterback for the Browns next year? Started off good, got injured. Now it's questionable. Is he going to be on the field next year, or is he going to be just do progressive commercials? So those are my questions. All right, guys. Well, that is our show for today. If you want more of this content, and why wouldn't you? Because it's great. Go to www.sportsinsanitynetwork.com and also check out the blogs that are posted there and check out all our podcasts, such as Sports Insanity Podcast, Wishbone Shotgun, The Face Turn, Breakaway Bandits, and the Throwdown that's hosted by these 2 gentlemen. So, Alex Matai, Connor Douglas, and Alex Singh, thank you guys for joining me tonight. I'm Bill Murphy. Stay safe and take care. Good night.